Good day, everyone. Before I formally start with my discussion, let me first show you a short glimpse of a video on how we approach others with the question, "Who are you?" This is a generalization and a role-playing act on how we respond to others when it relates to ourselves.
Good day everyone, I am Angela Maritoreros and I am going to ask some random friends of Miss Arianne. Who are you?
I am.
I am Zia Torres Swalling.
I'm Sir Ajor Obisag.
Geraldo Almenchon.
Trixie E. Francisco.
James Mendoza.
Marian Flor A. Dugyatan. Tasha Roxanne A. Deata.
Vaniming Basas.
Cindy Propitili.
No! What I mean is, who are you as a person?
Who am I?
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 This is a sad reality that most of us don't really know ourselves. Let me ask you, who are you? No. When I ask who are you, it doesn't mean I need your public information. It doesn't mean I need your information, the one that you are writing in your student information. No, I don't need that. What I mean when I ask who are you is who you really are as a person. What defines you? How do you behave? What is your personality? What is your mission? Why are you here? Who are you? That is what I mean. Maybe some of you are doubting yourself right now, can't find the real answer, don't know the real answer, but that's okay. And just leave it for now, because we are about to start my discussion. Many years ago, from the different time, philosophers once existed. They exchanged thoughts and ideas in seeking for the truth. So this topic mainly focuses on the controversial "who are you" question. And at the end of this topic, we will be able to question ourselves and provide answers to ourselves whether what type of person we are and who we really are. Let's expect that. Welcome to the philosophical perspective of the few from many philosophers. I am Maria Arianne Faye from the SM12 of the Leyte Normal University. Let's begin with the ancient philosophy. The ancient philosophy mainly focuses on the reason and intellect of the human person, so it doesn't focus on the beliefs and intuition. One of the most prominent philosophers of the ancient times was Socrates. Socrates was the first thinker of the Western history to focus on the human reasoning of a person. So these are the who we are, who we should be, and who we will become. You know guys, I observed a lot of mistakes we are doing. We are too focused with this who we will become statement, and we forget to think about the present self, like how is my life doing? Am I still okay? Is my self still working? We are too focused with the future and forget about the present time. You know, we need to realize that we cannot reach our future goals without even going to our starting point. We cannot go to the future goal of who will we become if we will not start with the starting point, who am I? That is the perception and the mindset of Socrates. That's why he decided to focus on the human mind reasoning. Socrates is also famous for his lines, "An unexamined life is not worth living." I know guys, you already heard about it when we were on our senior high school years. But what do we mean by a life that is worth living? A life that is worth living is a life that has been into self-examination. And when we say self-examination, it means that the learnings and the experiences that you've gone through is already being applied into yourself. So by that, you already know your capabilities, your strengths, your weaknesses, and limitations. You already know what's right from wrong. And that's the time you will probably say to yourself, hey, I am already making my life worth it. Socrates is also famous for his method of inquiry, the Socratic method or the Elenchus. Actually, this Socratic method definition is not definite. It means that it is not fixed. So there is no official definition of this method of inquiry. So sometimes it is defined as a method of inquiry, and sometimes it is defined to be as a teaching strategy. Sometimes it is also defined as a teaching and a debate. So there is really no official definition of this Socratic method or Elenchus. But anyways, let's not take it more far beyond our field. Our teacher educators are mostly using this kind of method of inquiry in determining whether their students have understood the lessons or not. That's why sometimes even after the discussion, our teachers will ask us questions. They will throw questions and questions for us, for them to be clarified whether they understood it, whether we understood it or not. So maybe some of you might be thinking right now that after my discussion, we will be doing this Socratic method. So you'll be giving me question, I will answer, question, answer, question, answer, but actually not. Because in Socratic method, it is a question to question conversation. Am I making myself sense? Let me give you an example. Have you ever been into that kind of situation wherein you ask a question to your friend because you need some clarifications? So you ask a question to your friend because you need to find the answer. That's why. So you ask a question to your friend, and then in return, your friend gave you another question. It might sound sarcastic to you, but actually it is a Socratic method. Why? Because it is through that question you will be able to know the answer to your question. Socratic method is making our mind grilled up, but in a nice way. So we are the ones who are responsible of finding the answer to our questions. Next is the Delphic oracle, to know thyself. So through questioning ourselves, we are able to know ourselves, of course, because through inquiring, through self-awareness, like you ask questions about yourself, so that will be the time that you will know yourself even more, that oh my gosh, I am not okay right now. You know guys, it is important to sometimes talk to yourself. Sometimes it is important, no, sometimes really it is really important to question yourself, because that will be the time that you will know yourself even more. Because even us ourselves, we need to talk to ourselves because it is our best friend anyways. Another is Socrates believed in the reality of dualism. So our body, aside from our body, there is this immortal soul that survives even after death. So after the human body die, an immortal body, or an immortal soul will come out of this body and then live after the death of the human body. So along with it, Socrates also believed that there are two dichotomous realms. First is the physical realm, and second is the ideal realm. The physical realm is considered to be changing, imperfect, and temporary. It means that it is not good, it is evil, and it is where we are currently living in right now. It is where we are existing right now. I want to ask you guys a favor to turn around and look to your left and right. Observe the surroundings. I will give you 3 seconds. Thank you. So, the things that you've seen is the product of the physical realm. All the things that you see, it belongs to the physical realm. And because our body belongs to the physical realm, it means that we are also possessing the characteristics in which the physical realm is acquiring. So we also change, we are also imperfect and temporary. Just like the physical realm will disappear, our body will also die. Second, the ideal realm. The ideal realm is considered to be heavenly, perfect, and permanent. So it is where our soul will go after we die. And because our soul finally belongs to the ideal realm, so it seeks for wisdom and perfection. It means that all things are good and there is no evilness in that ideal realm. That's why it is considered ideal, because all people might be amazingly wow in all of that creation. Next is Plato. Plato believed that the self is the reason and intellect. Plato was the student of Socrates, so the views of Plato were somewhat similar to the views of Socrates, but he specified the concept of the soul into three divisions. First, the rational soul. So it is the reason and intellect of the person. Second, the spirited soul. It is the emotion. Third is the appetitive soul. So it is the basic needs of us person. These three concepts of the soul can be easily described through a chariot analogy. This chariot analogy has of course, a charioteer. So this charioteer is the reason, the one that is in charge of guiding and controlling the two-winged horses. So these two-winged horses are divided into two types of horses. One is the noble horse, which signifies the emotion or the spirit. And second is the wild horse, which signifies the appetite. So as you can see in the picture, the horses are winged horses, so they have their wings because they are independent-minded horses. It means that they are free to do whatever they want. That's why in life we experience the feeling of being in love, the feeling of being sad, depressed, disappointment, and even self-failure. That's because that's the reason to why they have their wings. And Plato believed that if a person is experiencing self-failure or disappointments in life, it means that the reason has failed to do the task of controlling the appetite and the emotions. That's why he believed that we can only achieve our happiness if we let the reason control our emotions and our appetite. Okay, let's move right into the medieval philosophy. The medieval philosophy focuses on the theology and metaphysics. When we say theology, it basically means thinking about God, while metaphysics focuses on the natural existence, being, and the world. So one of its philosophers is Saint Augustine. Saint Augustine's views of the self is based on the ideas of Plato, combined with the teaching of Christianity. So Saint Augustine believed in the limitations of the self. What do we mean by limitations of the self? It means that we have our limitations in thinking, intellectual capacity. We have our limitations in talent. That's why sometimes in life, we cannot do things that others can do. But in return, we have also these capabilities that we can, but others cannot do. It's called uniqueness. Saint Augustine believes that the self is created in the image and likeness of God. So it is only through him that we can know ourselves, because of course, he is our creator and We are his creations, and it is only through him that we can know ourselves because he was the one who created us. So we need to get near to him. So let me give you an example. A toy market owner gave you this toy, and let's say this toy is a limited edition. So you were the first one to have that toy. So even if you search it through YouTube or in any other social media sites, you will never know the operation on how to use it. So, okay, that toy owner gave you that toy, no manual, no instruction on how to use. And what you gonna do? Of course, you will seek for the creator who invented that toy. And once you find that creator, that's only the time that you will know the function of that toy. The story of that toy and the toy market owner is the same with how we deal with our lives with God. So for Saint Augustine, if you seek God, you will also find yourself. Saint Augustine also believes that there are two visions of the world. First is the city of man, and second is the city of God. The city of man is described to be temporary and sinful, so it is full of sins, but there will always be hope with that. As long as you will seek God, you will find your rest. It is where our body is currently living in. Just like the physical realm, city of man has the similarities with this. So another vision is the city of God. So city of God is described to be eternal and perfect. It is where our body will be living. It is where our soul will be existing when we die. So our soul in the city of God will be binded with him forever. Isn't that amazing? I know. Next is the modern philosophy. The modern philosophy is sometimes referred to as the theory of knowledge. So it focuses on the critical thinking and problem solving. So one of our philosophers is René Descartes. René Descartes is considered to be the father of the modern philosophy. So philosophers before René Descartes were mostly focused on the reasoning, mostly focusing on the questions about ourselves. So for René Descartes, he got curious on how we find answers to our questions. So he was more concerned with the thinking process we use in finding answers to our questions. That's the time that he made up his statement that the self is a thinking thing. That if a person thinks, it means that he is existing. It means that there is self, because self-awareness is one way for a person to know thyself. René Descartes is also famous for his lines cogito ergo sum, or the I think, therefore I am. So the thinking process is really important for René Descartes. And that's the time that we understood the concept of the doubting self. For René Descartes, it is really important that sometimes we must doubt ourselves, because if we doubt, it means that our thinking process is effectively working, because you cannot doubt without even thinking that you doubt. And when you think, it means that you have yourself. Simple as that. That is the concept of René Descartes. That's why we will end this topic of René Descartes with his statement, if you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt, as far as possible, all things. It is through self-conscious and self-awareness that we can know ourselves, and it is through doubting that we can know ourselves, because it is through thinking we can know ourselves even more. Okay, let's move on to David Hume. For David Hume, he believes that there is no self. Why is that? Before we discuss these perceptions of him, let us first define the two, what do you call this? The two concepts which makes up our experiences and senses, as you can see in the PowerPoint presentation. So, for David Hume, impression is defined to be the basic sensations of our experiences. So, basically, it is the things that are perceived by our senses. So, what are these? For example, I have here a cellophane, a tissue. So, from your impression, of course, you will say that a tissue is soft, that a tissue is thin. That is your perception based on your sense of seeing, because we are virtually talking. So based on your impression right now, you will say that a tissue is thick. But for me, that I am holding this tissue, it means that this is thin. Thin. That this is thin and soft. That is impression. The things that are perceived by our senses. Second is the ideas. So it is defined as the copies of impression. So ideas are the result of impression. For example, a reality. There's a knife. So a knife is sharp, there's a sharp knife. So basically, that is your impression, that a knife is sharp. So your ideas, of course, you will not hold the tip of the knife because you'll get wounds. That is the idea. So for example, in our part, every end of our school year, we have this open forum. So in our open forum, the question, what is your first impression of me when we first met? So, dire ito nawawara nga question. What is your first impression to me? While doing the forum, you gathered a lot of impressions. Some might say you are, you kind of look naughty. You kind of look good. Some says you look innocent, and some says you look wild. Some says you look good, and some says you look what do you call that? Mataray. So every people have different impressions of you. So that's the time that David Hume finally decide that there is no self, because there is no constant, or there is no fixed impression of us. So all the people that are perceiving us have different opinions. That's why he concluded to the statement that there is no self. Another thing, let's proceed to contemporary philosophy. Contemporary philosophy supports social theory. That's why it addresses the emotional and physical well-being of a person. One of its philosophers is Gilbert Ryle. So, Gilbert Ryle is famous for his statement, I act, therefore I am. For Gilbert Ryle, he considered the person's behavior as the most important component of the self, because it is through your behavior that one can know what kind of a person you are. It's like, show me how you behave and I tell you who you are. It is defined as the way you approach others is what defines you. The way you respond to others is what defines you. The way you connect to others is what defines you. So your personal behavior really matters. So let me give you an example. When we were young, we were mostly taught by our parents. We were mostly told by our parents to hey, watch your actions. You need to do this or that. You need to act like this or that. You don't need to act like this or that. You need to behave like this or that. But don't get me wrong. We are rational beings and we can think whatever behavior we are going to live in the future. That is the Perception of the Self by Gilbert Ryle. Now, let's move on to our last philosopher, Maurice Merleau-Ponty. For Maurice Merleau-Ponty, he believes that the self is embodied subjectivity. So for Maurice Merleau-Ponty, he considered the physical body to be the most important component of the self. And it is not only through our mind that we will stalk our self. It must not only be inside our mind that we are going to close our own consciousness. We must give our full attention to our living body. So, Maurice Merleau-Ponty believes that the mind and the actions of the body are intertwined. It means that they cannot be separated. The functions of mind is related to the function of the body. The function of the mind is connected to that of the entire body. That's why each person perceive their own perceptions about the self, and that's the conclusion to why Merleau-Ponty defined the self as embodied subjectivity, because we define ourselves in a subjective perspective. And that ends my discussion for today. I hope you all gained a new knowledge about perceiving ourselves, and I hope you got your answer to who am I question. Thank you and have a nice day. I am now open for clarifications. Again, this is Maria Arianne Faye from the SM12.